Welcome back, everybody. It is time for something that I'm looking forward to and have been looking forward to for a while, but I'm also dreading, and that is the Power Rankings preseason for Overwatch League Season number 5. Overwatch 2 beta is out. Let me know what you think of it so far. I have played a little bit. I was lucky I got in on the first day of it, like later on in the day. I've played about 8 hours in the last couple days. Um, and so far I like it a lot. But it's obviously going to change up the entirety of the game for us normies as well as the pros. And we're going to get into that pro side of it a little bit more. Gonna preface this by saying that this is the hardest power rankings that I've ever had to do. There were some previous years were really tough as well, but this season by far is the hardest. Even season one where it was just beginning, I would easily take that over this season because we don't know who's going to be good at the 5v5. There's a ton of new players that are introduced into the league. We have a lot of players that have now moved on, whether it be retirement or into a different game like Valorant. But in any case, we do have to get through these. We're gonna go a couple per video. You're probably gonna see some double uploads. Just in the pure reasoning being, we got to get them out before the league starts. It starts so soon that we're going to run through these, but we're going to be doing 2. I might change it to 3 or 4 later on per video, but we're starting with 2. We're going to go through number 20 and number 19. And I really don't think there's the bottom feeders, like London and obviously Valiant being the number 1. Just absolute disappointment last season. I don't think we have many of those this season, but maybe I said that last year, and who knows? Maybe we all like to be a little optimistic. If you look through a bunch of power rankings, someone will be ranked 17th, and you'll see a bunch of people like, oh no, I think they could be 10 or 11. And what people don't realize is you say that for like every team, except the teams that we know are top tier. Not everybody can be 10th or 11th. We need those 17, 18, 19, and 20 spots. So without further ado, gonna jump into it. If you are wondering, like, why are his lips so red? Powerade. The watermelon berry. It's very, very red. Not sponsored. But anyways, number 20. Again, this is a tough decision, and I don't think they're just awful. But I do think that the worst team in the league is a repeat. I'm going to go in with the Valiant at number 20. This is not just because I am a bully gladiator fan that hates the Valiant. It's really not. Nothing against them. But taking a look at the roster, it's a lot of unproven. Sasin and Dia are the most tenured. Coldest also got some gameplay on support during this past season, but it's like, what do we really know from them? Dia was a nice player. He was the best player on a terrible Dragons team. Do I think he can still play? Sure. Sasin, has he had some nice moments over the past few years? Yeah. But it's a consistency thing. It's a total strength of the roster. I don't quite know what I'm going to get from Innovation or Becky yet. And they don't have the most reliable results to speak of from their contenders and the previous pro experience. So there's nothing on here that just absolutely jumps out to me. There were a couple of teams that I was looking at, for these back 4 or 5 spots, and a couple of them I was like, ooh, but that player, they can make a big difference, or oh, but maybe if the meta kind of goes this way with the 5v5, or oh, that's a really good tank player, they could really get a bunch of these new tank roles down. And Valiant just had the least amount of that for me. So I don't think they go winless. I think that this is, at least early on, I think this is going to be the most competitive Overwatch league season yet. And then towards the back half of the year, we're going to start to see more of the dominance. That's a little bit of what happened in season 1 as well. Where teams like Boston and New York and the Valiant really picked up steam and like finished very, very well. But in any case, I do believe, for me, that this is the weakest team on paper. Obviously, a lot of turnover from last season. Basically, nobody from last season's roster made it back. So they probably won't, have the stigma of like, oh man, we were last, because they weren't on this team. But I still just think that in terms of matchups, there's the least amount that I like for them. I don't see dominance in any sort of meta yet, if that makes sense. So got Valiant at number 20, and if you think it got easier from there, it sure did not. This cluster of like 19 to 13, like there's some of these teams that are so boom or bust. There's some of them where I look at them, I legitimately think they could make a playoff run, or they could lose a lot of matches, like a lot. But like I said, a lot of these teams, they just have like that one or two players where it's like, no, like they're gonna keep them afloat. Like they're gonna do enough work. But without any further ado, no more suspense, no more drum roll. We're gonna go into 19, and that ended up being the Florida Mayhem, and I think this one's gonna be controversial. Again, this is a team I could see him making playoffs. I'm gonna be honest. But there's the most amount of certainty and the most amount of bust. Have they changed most of the roster, as you can see from jerseys and whatnot? Yes. But this is a team that severely underperformed last season. Probably the number one underperformer. And in Season 3, they got off to a really nice start, and then they underperformed pretty hard the second half of the season. So, there's just something with the Mayhem that I just don't like. It's not sticking with me. Now, you go into Kareev. Kareev's a great player. It absolutely slaughtered me to have him be on a team that I ranked 19. Because he's so good, he's been so consistent, such a high performer in this league for so many, for all of the years. If you guys remember back in the day, he was Valiant's Widow player for a little bit, and he did a really good job in Season 1 as a support main. And that's not to, and then we go into his Zenyatta, his Ana, just absolutely sick at both of those characters. And to me, it's surprising he's bounced between so many different teams, because, he's a player that who wouldn't want him on their team. XE, huge potential player. However, had some injuries, forced him to retire last year, and now, obviously, he's back. He's replacing Mirror. Mirror, they had signed this past offseason. He was here for a while. Remember, he was on Gladiators last season. He didn't play a minute. He's already gone. They replaced him with XE. I don't like that. That's a bad sign to me for the organization. And is XE better than Mirror? I would say so, yes. 100%. XE was, when he came into the league Season 3, we're talking about Rookie of the Year. He's an MVP, up there for, like, MVP candidate. Really, really good on the hit scan. But it scares me. I don't know what I'm going to get from him yet. Is he a bit of a different player now? He was playing, in a system that he really liked in previous years with teammates that he was super comfortable with. He's a late signing. Are we going to see them be slow to get traction? Who really knows? Then we have Checkmate, the case of the rotating player who is a DPS player by trade, but as you remember, he ended up being on main tank last season when OG wasn't really panning out, and they had to make that change. I fully expect him to be a DPS this season. Fully expect him to be switched back. Hydron has been a really high performer at the contenders level for a couple of years now, so I like him. I think that's a pretty good combination. Adam and someone, again, we're gonna see. Could they be great performers? Sure. They haven't touched Overwatch League yet. They've been in contenders for a while now. Those are their two tank players. We go to Amano. good player, good results in the past. But there's nothing about him that really pops off the screen. And I know he's a main support. They're not supposed to pop off the screen most of the time unless, they're getting crazy environmentals as Lucio. And it's nothing to take away from Amano. I think he's a good, seems like a good guy, good player. He's made positive impacts in New York and Seoul, now in Miami. So I like the back line a lot. I have so much inconsistency with the DPS because, we got Checkmate switching back over. XC, is he going to recapture that form? I certainly hope so. Rooting for him. It was a damn shame to be without him last season. But, is he going to be that dominant player? I don't know. For some of these other teams, I know I'm going to get at least good stuff. Hydron, again, I like him a lot. Deserved his call-up. We're going to see what he does at this level. So, while this team is certainly higher talent and potential-wise than the next 4 or 5 teams, I think, for me, there's so much risk. I could see this going downhill fast. And again, I'm not hoping it does. I don't wish bad things upon any of the teams. I obviously want Gladiators to win all of their matches. But I'm not like, oh man, just fuck these guys. I hope they get dead last. So we'll see. This could be one that we look back on and they finish like 8th and it's like, ooh, that was a really bad take. But like I said, I just look at this roster, with the previous history of the Florida Mayhem, not the most successful organization that we have in the league, unfortunately, for them and their fans. I love their new color scheme, though. Oh, as soon as they switched it, was that season 3 when they changed it? Might have been in season 2 even. But such a good idea. Their colors absolutely slap now. But in any case, they're my 19 right now. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Sorry, it's been a while. I'm very curious to see who you have at 20 and 19. Do you think I'm crazy for Valiant? Do you think I'm crazy for Florida? I'm very curious. Again, if you've played the Overwatch 2 beta yet, let me know what you think of it. Also very curious. Like I said, I like it a lot so far. I've got some thoughts, some things that I would probably like changed, or want to at least see developed in the future. But I think it's a nice rollout so far. And I hope that everyone out there is also enjoying this kind of refresh of the game. But I will stop rambling now. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for the rest of the power rankings, as well as a bunch of other videos coming out, like my initial reactions to the beta, talent breakdown for this season, all kinds of stuff like that. Keep an eye out. But otherwise, I hope you have yourselves a absolutely fantastic day. And as always, I will see you in the next one.